The Grand Chamber had never been quieter. Every delegate sat in their seat watching the humans file in for the final session. Whispers had spread through the station over the past 4 hours. Something was different about the humans. They walked, with a strange combination of calm and purpose that made even the most confident council members uneasy. Chancellor Velthar sat in his high seat, surrounded by the inner council. He had spent the recess consulting with military advisors and economic ministers. Everything was prepared. If the humans refused, sanctions would be implemented immediately. Trade routes would be closed. Human vessels would be denied docking rights. Within months, maybe weeks, the humans would come crawling back, desperate to accept any terms. He was certain of it. "This session will come to order," Velthar announced, his voice carrying through the chamber. "Human delegation, you have had time to reconsider. We are prepared to proceed with the signing ceremony. The documents are ready. Your future awaits." Jiwoo stood, and the chamber fell silent. He carried no data tablet, no papers, just a small recording device that would transmit his words across the galaxy. Every major news network had requested access to this moment. They thought they would witness humanity's submission. They were about to witness something else entirely. Chancellor Velthar, honorable council members, delegates from across the galaxy. Jiwoo's voice was steady and clear. "For the past 2 days, we have carefully reviewed the integration accords. We have studied every clause, analyzed every implication, and considered what acceptance would mean for humanity's future." Velthar leaned forward, satisfaction showing on his reptilian features. "Excellent. Then let us proceed with the formalities. We have decided to reject the integration accords in their entirety." The silence that followed was absolute. For 3 heartbeats, no one moved. No one breathed. The words seemed to hang in the air, impossible to process. Then the chamber erupted. "Reject?" Velthar rose from his seat, his voice thundering. "You cannot reject. This is not negotiable." "Then it was never a negotiation," Jiwoo replied calmly. "It was an ultimatum, and humanity does not respond well to ultimatums." High Arbiter Quintal's mandibles clicked frantically. "This is unprecedented, illegal. You cannot simply refuse council authority." "We can," Hyun-Soo said, standing beside Jiwoo. "We are a sovereign species. We have that right." "You have no rights except those the council grants," Trade Minister Calvek shouted, his aquatic voice bubbling with rage. Jiwoo let the words hang in the air for a moment. Then he smiled. "Thank you, Minister. You've just proven exactly why we must refuse. You see rights as things you grant or withhold. We see rights as inherent to all sentient beings. That fundamental difference makes partnership impossible." Velthar struggled to regain control of the chamber. "You are making a catastrophic mistake. The Council has existed for 15,000 years. We have integrated hundreds of species. You are not special. You are not different. You will submit like all the others." "The others had no choice," Daun spoke up. "You manipulated their economies before negotiations began. You isolated them diplomatically. You made them desperate, then offered salvation with chains attached. We know because you tried the same approach with us." "Lies," Calvex hissed. "We have the trade data," Hyun-Soo said. 5 years of systematic market manipulation. You've been weakening us economically, preparing us for this moment. Did you think we wouldn't notice?" The delegates throughout the chamber began murmuring. Some species were looking at the council with new suspicion. Velthar's claws gouged marks in his armrest. "Your accusations are irrelevant. Refuse the accords, and you will stand alone. No trade, no protection, no access to council space. Your ships will be turned away from every station. Your colonies will be isolated. You will beg to return within a year." "We won't," Jiwoo said simply. "Because we're not alone. While you've been assuming our submission, we've been building relationships with independent species. The Talvek, the Rio, the Nim, and others. Species who value trade over control, partnership over dominance. Those are minor species," Quintal said dismissively. "Insignificant." "They're free," Minji countered. "That makes them more significant than any protectorate." Velthar stood at his full height, trying to use physical intimidation. You play a dangerous game, Commander. The Council has military forces beyond your comprehension. We can blockade your worlds. We can seize your ships. We can make you understand the cost of defiance. Tae Yang stepped forward, and something in his expression made several council members lean back. You can try, but understand this. Humanity has fought wars since before we discovered fire. We've survived extinction events, global conflicts, and enemies from within and without. We're very, very good at survival. If you threaten us militarily, you'd better commit fully because we will fight, and we will make it cost more than you're willing to pay. This is madness, Velthar said, but his voice had lost some of its certainty. This is freedom, Jiwoo corrected. Something your council seems to have forgotten. We came here hoping for friendship, for partnership, for a chance to learn from older species and share what we could offer. Instead, you offered us a cage. Even if it's a comfortable cage, even if you genuinely believe it's for our own good, it's still a cage, and we will not accept it. He pulled out a formal document, held it up for all to see. Effective immediately, humanity withdraws from all council institutions. We will honor existing trade contracts but will negotiate new ones only with partners who treat us as equals. We open our worlds to any species seeking refuge from oppression, and we announce the formation of the Independent Species Coalition, dedicated to mutual defense and voluntary cooperation among free peoples. You're declaring war, Velthar said, his voice dangerous. We're declaring independence, Jiwoo replied. If the Council respects that independence, there will be no war. If you attack us for choosing freedom, then history will remember who started the conflict. Velthar looked around the chamber, seeing doubt on faces that had always shown certainty. Some delegates were watching the humans with something like admiration. Others looked thoughtful, perhaps reconsidering their own situations. You will regret this, Velthar said, his voice cold. Leave this station. Leave council space. And when your colonies are starving, when your ships are stranded, when your people are crying for relief, remember that you chose this. We will remember, Jiwoo agreed. We'll remember that we chose dignity over submission. Freedom over security. The future over the past. History will judge which choice was right. He turned to his delegation. We're done here. Gather your things. We're leaving. You cannot just leave, Quintal protested. This session is not adjourned. It is for us, Hyunsu said. We're not council members anymore. You have no authority over us. The human delegation began moving toward the exit. The chamber descended into chaos. Council members were shouting. Some delegates were trying to block the humans' path. Others were silent, watching this unprecedented act of defiance. Stop them, Velthar commanded. Security, prevent their departure. But Tae Yang had anticipated this. I wouldn't recommend that, Chancellor. Our ships are on full alert. Any hostile action will be met with appropriate response. Your station, weapons are tracking our vessels, but our weapons are tracking your command center. Let's not make this messier than it needs to be. Velthar's expression showed pure fury, but he made no move to follow through on his threat. He knew the human military officer wasn't bluffing. The human delegation reached the chamber doors. Jiwoo paused and looked back one last time. To any species watching this, any people who dream of freedom know this. You are not alone. Earth stands with you. Humanity stands with you. The cage only holds you if you believe you cannot leave. We've proven today that you can walk away. Then he turned and led his delegation out of the chamber. Their footsteps echoed in the sudden silence, steady and certain. As they walked through the corridors toward their ships, Minji noticed someone following them. She tensed, ready for trouble, but then recognized Envoy Rashek. The amphibian diplomat looked terrified but determined. Commander, Rashek said quietly, I must speak quickly. Other species are watching what you've done. Some are inspired, some are terrified, but all are talking. You've started something that cannot be stopped. Will your people join us? Jiwoo asked. I don't know, but I will try to convince them. What you did in there, it was impossible, but you did it anyway. Maybe we can too. The offer stands, Jiwoo said. Any species that wants freedom has a friend in humanity. Rashek nodded and disappeared back into the crowd. The human ships departed the station 30 minutes later. As they accelerated away, Jiwoo watched the massive structure shrink in the view screen. Behind them, the council was scrambling to respond. Ahead of them lay uncertainty, danger, and possibility. "Sir," Hyunsu said quietly, "we just walked away from the most powerful government in the galaxy." "Yes," Jiwoo agreed. "We did. Do you think we made the right choice?" Jiwoo thought about the Krell, diminished and controlled, the Duloth, reduced to a shadow of themselves, Rashek's people living as prisoners, all the species who had accepted the Council's terms and lost themselves. The quantum communication link crackled to life in the secure chamber. Jiwoo stood at attention as the image resolved, showing not just President Sang-woo, but the entire global council gathered in Earth's central chamber. 20 leaders from every nation, their faces grim with the weight of the decision before them. "Commander," Sang-woo began without preamble, "we have reviewed everything you sent. Every clause of the integration accords. Every piece of research on protectorate species. The recording from Envoy Rashek." He paused, his expression hardening. "We have also received intelligence from our own sources that confirms your worst fears." Admiral Bora stepped into frame. The Chief of Human Defense Forces looked like she had been carved from granite. "Commander Jiwoo, Captain Tae-yang, while you've been at the Council Station, we've been preparing for this possibility. Our intelligence network has spent the last 6 months investigating the Council's true nature." A map appeared on the screen, showing galactic space marked with different colors. The Council controls 47 species directly, but only 12 of those are full members with actual voting rights. The other 35 are protectorates in various states of subjugation. We've confirmed that the Council has systematically absorbed every species that accepts their terms. Tae-yang leaned forward. "Sir, what about military capabilities?" Bora's smile was sharp. "The Council fleet is vast, but it's spread thin across dozens of sectors. More importantly, their tactics are outdated. They rely on overwhelming force and intimidation because they rarely face actual resistance. We've been analyzing their combat doctrines. They're beatable." "You're saying we should fight?" Hyunsu asked, shocked. "I'm saying we can fight if we must," Bora corrected. "But there are better options. We've been preparing for this scenario for years. We're not as alone as the Council believes." Another figure joined the transmission. Minister of Colonial Affairs. Junha looked tired but determined. "Commander, for the past 3 years we've been establishing quiet relationships with independent species. The Tulvek merchants, the Rio explorers, the Nim Mining Consortium. None of them are Council members. All of them have been looking for alternatives to Council dominance." "You built an alliance network?" Jiwoo felt hope kindle in his chest. "Without the Council knowing?" "Not an alliance. Not yet." Sang-woo took control of the briefing again. "But we've laid groundwork. If we reject the Council's terms, we won't be walking into isolation. We'll be walking toward something new." On the screen, the Global Council members began speaking one by one. The Premier of the Asian Coalition spoke first. "We did not survive thousands of years of human history by surrendering our sovereignty to bullies. Our answer is no." The President of the African Union nodded. "Our ancestors fought for independence from colonial powers. We will not become colonized again, not even by aliens. We vote no." The European Federation's Chancellor was emphatic. "The principles of self-determination are not negotiable. No." One by one, every leader declared their position. Not a single dissenting voice. Humanity spoke with one voice, and that voice rejected the Council's cage. Sang-woo looked directly at Jiwoo. "Commander, you asked what you should prepare for. Here are your orders. You will return to that chamber and formally reject the integration accords. You will announce humanity's withdrawal from Council institutions, and you will invite any species that values freedom to join us in building something better. Sir, they'll threaten us, maybe attack us. Let them threaten." Admiral Bora stepped forward again. "Every human colony has been fortified. Every human ship has been armed. Every trade route has been secured. We've been preparing for this day since we first encountered the Council and realized what they truly were. We're ready." Tae-yang straightened. "Admiral, what are our defensive capabilities?" Classified details are in the data packet I'm sending now. But summary, we have weapons the Council has never seen, tactics they haven't encountered, and most importantly, we have something they lost millennia ago. We remember how to fight for our freedom, Minister Junha added. We've also been diversifying our economy. Human goods are in high demand among independent traders. Our technology is innovative because we haven't been restricted by Council regulations. We've built redundancies into every critical system. Economic sanctions will hurt, but they won't break us. Sangwoo's expression softened slightly. Commander, I know what we're asking of you. You'll be the face of this rejection. History will remember you as the man who either saved humanity or doomed it. That's an unfair burden. Sir, Jiwoo said quietly, I've read what happens to species that accept those accords. If the choice is between a comfortable cage and a dangerous freedom, there's no choice at all. We are human. We don't accept cages. Pride showed on every face in the Global Council. Sangwoo nodded slowly. Then let me make this formal. Commander Park Jiwoo, by unanimous decision of Earth's Global Council, you are hereby authorized and ordered to reject the integration accords on behalf of all humanity. You will announce our withdrawal from the Galactic Council and our intention to pursue independent relationships with all species who wish to engage with us as equals. Yes, sir. Jiwoo saluted. Sir, permission to speak freely? Granted. What you're asking us to do, it could start a war. Yes, Sangwoo acknowledged. It could, but signing those accords would end our civilization just as surely, only more slowly and quietly. Sometimes the only way to survive is to be willing to fight. Our ancestors understood that. Now it's our turn. The rest of the human delegation had gathered behind Jiwoo. Daeyeon spoke up. Mr. President, many council species are good people trapped in a bad system. Envoy Rashek risked everything to warn us. Should we offer refuge to species who want to leave? Sangwoo smiled for the first time in the call. Already planned. Any species that wishes to leave the Council will find Earth's door open. We won't build an empire to replace theirs. We'll build a community of free peoples. And if the Council attacks us? Hyunsu asked. Admiral Bora answered. Then they'll learn that humans are much harder to kill than they assume. We've survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and near-extinction events. We didn't come this far to bow down now. The transmission showed military officers moving in the background on Earth. Ships were being positioned. Defenses were being activated. Humanity was preparing for every possibility. Commander, Sangwoo said, you have 4 hours until that session reconvenes. Use that time wisely. Prepare your statement. Make it clear. Make it strong. And make sure the entire galaxy understands that humanity chooses freedom over security, dignity over submission. We will, sir. One more thing. Sangwoo's expression turned fierce. Tell them that Earth remembers. We remember every empire that thought they could conquer us. We remember every system that thought they could control us. None of them exist anymore. We're still here. Tell the Council that if they force this issue, they'll learn why humanity is still standing after 10,000 years of history. The transmission ended. Jiwoo turned to face his delegation. They looked back at him with determination mixed with fear. They all knew what was about to happen. All right, Jiwoo said. We have 4 hours to prepare the statement that might define humanity's future. Daeyeon, pull up the formal protocols for withdrawal. Hyunsu, draft the economic transition plans. Taeyang, coordinate with Admiral Bora on security measures. Minji, prepare a list of species who might be sympathetic to our position. And you, sir? Minji asked. Jiwoo looked out at the stars. I'm going to write a speech. One that reminds the Council that humanity didn't ask for permission to exist, and we won't ask for permission to remain free. As his team scattered to their tasks, Jiwoo sat at his desk and began writing. The words came easily, flowing from centuries of human history. From every revolutionary who had ever stood against tyranny, from every person who had ever chosen danger over slavery. He wrote for his children who would grow up in whatever world emerged from this decision. He wrote for the colonists on distant worlds who trusted him to protect their future. He wrote for every human who had ever dreamed of touching the stars without chains. When he finished, Jiwoo read the statement 3 times. It was clear, it was strong, and it would leave no doubt about humanity's answer. In 4 hours they would deliver it. And the galaxy would never be the same. The Grand Chamber looked different on the second day. The same delegates filled the same seats, but Jiwoo could see them more clearly now. He noticed which species watched the humans with curiosity, and which watched with something like pity. He saw how the council members sat with casual arrogance, completely certain of how this meeting would end. They had no idea they were wrong. Chancellor Velthar called the session to order with a dramatic gesture. Human delegation, you have had time to review the integration accords. We are ready to proceed with the signing ceremony. Jiwoo stood slowly. Beside him, Hyunsu carried a different data tablet than before. This one contained humanity's response. Chancellor, we have indeed reviewed the accords thoroughly. We have questions. A ripple of surprise moved through the chamber. Velthar's smile faltered slightly. Questions? The document is quite clear. It is very clear, Jiwoo agreed. That's why we have questions. For example, Section 47 requires us to surrender 70% of all resources we discover. Can you explain the logic behind this ratio? Velthar's eyes narrowed. It is standard. The Council provides stability and protection. Resources fund that protection. I see. And the military restrictions in Section 62 that limit us to Corvette-class ships. How are we meant to protect our shipping lanes from pirates with such limited capabilities? The Council fleet provides protection for all member shipping. High Arbiter Quintal interjected. Protectorate species do not need large militaries. Ambassador Minji, the human cultural attaché, had been studying the assembled delegates carefully. She noticed a small amphibian diplomat in the third tier shifting uncomfortably. His nameplate read Envoy Rashek. Every time the Council spoke about protectorate species, Rashek looked troubled. In Article 8, Hyunsu spoke up, which gives Council observers veto power over our legislation. Doesn't this violate the principle of self-governance? Trade Minister Calvex's voice bubbled with irritation. Self-governance is a privilege earned through maturity. Young species require guidance. How long until we're considered mature enough? Jiwoo asked. That is determined by the Council, Velthar said. When you have proven yourselves responsible. And how do we prove ourselves while under such restrictions? The chamber grew tense. These were not the questions of a species preparing to sign. These were challenges. Velthar's claws clicked against his seat's armrest. Commander Jiwoo, perhaps you misunderstand the situation. The integration accords are not negotiable. They represent thousands of years of refined galactic governance. Then this isn't a negotiation, Jiwoo said quietly. It's an ultimatum. Silence crashed through the chamber like a wave. Several delegates leaned forward. Rashek's eyes widened. You dare, Velthar began, his voice rising. We dare to ask questions, Jiwoo interrupted. We dare to understand what we're signing. Is that not our right? Quintal's mandibles clicked rapidly. Rights are defined by the Council. You are guests here, human. Remember your place. Our place is standing on our own feet, Hyunsu said firmly. We have a counter-proposal. The chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. Velthar raised his hand for silence, though his expression had turned dangerous. A counter-proposal? Impossible. I have already explained that the accords are standard. Then let us propose a new standard, Jiwoo said. He nodded to Hyunsu, who activated a holographic display. We propose a partnership of equals. Mutual defense agreements, fair trade relations, technology sharing that benefits all parties, independent governance with cooperation through choice, not compulsion. Preposterous, Calvex sputtered. Your species has been spacefaring for barely a century. You cannot be equals with civilizations that have existed for millennia. Why not? Jiwoo asked. Does age automatically grant wisdom? Does longevity equal rightness? It grants experience, Velthar said coldly. Experience you lack. Experience that tells us what happens when young species are given too much freedom. They make mistakes. They cause chaos. They endanger themselves and others. Give us an example, Minji spoke up. Name a species that failed because they had too much freedom. Velthar opened his mouth, then closed it. Quintal leaned forward. This is not a debate. You are here to accept the terms offered. And if we don't? Jiwoo asked. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Calvex's aquatic features arranged themselves into something predatory. Then you would be making a grave error. Species who refuse council membership often find themselves facing difficulties. Is that a threat? Taeyang asked, speaking for the first time. The military officer's voice carried the weight of someone who had seen combat. It is a statement of fact, Velthar said. Galactic commerce is controlled by the Council. Shipping routes are monitored by Council vessels. Disputes are adjudicated by Council courts. A species outside Council authority is a species alone, vulnerable, unprotected. So join or suffer, Jiwoo said flatly. Join or face reality, Velthar corrected. We are trying to help you, Commander. Why do you resist what is in your best interest? Minji watched Rashek during this exchange. The amphibian diplomat looked increasingly distressed. His webbed fingers gripped his seat and his skin had paled to a sickly green. Perhaps, Jiwoo said carefully. Our definition of best interest differs from yours. We have reviewed the outcomes for other protectorate species. The Krell have lost 40% of their population. The Duloth were reduced to a single system. These do not seem like success stories. The Krell chose stagnation, Quintal snapped. The Duloth mismanaged their colonies. These are not failures of the Council, but failures of the species themselves. Convenient, Hyunsu observed. When protectorate species decline, it's their fault. But you take credit for any success. Velthar rose from his seat, his full height towering over the chamber. Enough, you have had your chance to ask questions. You have had your chance to voice concerns. Now you will accept the reality of your situation. You are a young species in a galaxy far older and more complex than you understand. The integration accords are not punishment. They are protection. Sign them, or face the consequences of your arrogance. The delegates throughout the chamber watched in fascination. Many had never seen the Council challenged so directly. Some looked scandalized. Others looked intrigued. Rashek looked terrified. Jiwoo met Velthar's gaze without flinching. We request 24 hours to consult with our government. No, Velthar said flatly. You have had your time. The decision must be made now. Then we need a recess, Jiwoo insisted. Surely you can grant us a few hours to discuss this among our delegation. Velthar and the other council members exchanged glances. Finally, Quintal spoke. 4 hours, no more. When we reconvene, you will give us your final answer. The session ended abruptly. As the humans filed out, Minji felt someone brush past her. A small data chip fell into her hand. She looked up to see Rashek moving away quickly, not meeting her eyes. Back in their quarters, Minji revealed the chip. Someone passed this to me. I think it was Envoy Rashek. Can we trust it? Taeyang asked suspiciously. Only one way to find out. Dayun inserted the chip into an isolated system. A video file appeared. Rashek's face filled the screen, but this was a recording made in private. He looked haunted. Human friends, the recording began. I do not have much time. I risk everything sharing this. My people, the Kelshaw, accepted protectorate status 80 years ago. We were told it was temporary. We were promised partnership. That was a lie. The recording showed images of Kelshaw worlds, once thriving colonies reduced to mining operations. Kelshaw workers laboring under council overseers. We cannot leave, cannot grow, cannot change our situation. The council does not create protectorates. It creates property. If you sign those accords, you will never be free again. Whatever you decide, know the truth. Some of us have not forgotten what independence means. We watch you with hope. Please do not make our mistake. The recording ended. The human delegation stood in silence, staring at the blank screen. Jiwoo's jaw clenched. Send everything to Earth, full transmission. The accords are analysis in this recording. President Sang-woo needs to see what we're really dealing with. As the data streamed across light years, Jiwoo knew that humanity's answer was already decided. The only question now was whether they had the courage to deliver it. The human delegation had not slept. Coffee cups littered every surface of their quarters and the air smelled of exhaustion and determination. Specialist Dayun sat surrounded by holographic displays, her eyes red from reading thousands of pages of legal text. She had studied Xenolaw for 10 years, preparing for exactly this kind of situation, but the integration accords were more complex than anything she had imagined. Section 47. Subsection 12, she called out to her team. Resource allocation protocols. Someone verify my translation. Another specialist pulled up the same section. Confirmed. It says all newly discovered resources must be reported to the Council within 10 standard days. The Council then determines distribution. Keep reading, Dawon said grimly. Distribution ratio is set at 70% to the Council treasury, 30% to the discovering species. The specialist looked up, shocked. 70%? That's robbery. Captain Taeyang crossed the room in 3 strides. The military advisor had been quiet for most of the night, but his expression showed controlled fury. "Show me that section." Da-Yun highlighted it for him. Tae-Young read it twice, then slammed his fist on the table. "Every mineral deposit, every rare element, every energy source. We find it, we report it, and they take most of it." "It gets worse," Da-Yun said quietly. She pulled up another section. "Military restrictions. Human armed forces are limited to system defense only. No vessels larger than Corvette class. No weapons above Class 3. And every ship design must be approved by Council military oversight." Yunsu joined them, looking grave. "They're neutering us. We wouldn't be able to defend ourselves against a serious threat. Or resist them," Tae-Yang added darkly. "These aren't defense limits. These are occupation terms disguised as protection." Da-Yun continued scrolling through the document. "Technology sharing protocols. All human research and development must be filed with the Council. Any advancement deemed significant must be shared with all Council members. They want access to our innovations," Yunsu said. "We develop it, we share it, and they benefit from our work." While limiting what we can research, Da-Un pointed to another clause. Restricted research fields include advanced propulsion, weapons development, artificial intelligence, and genetic modification. All require Council approval before beginning studies. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. They were being asked to stop growing, stop advancing, stop being human in all the ways that mattered. Jiwoo had been listening from his office area. He emerged now, his face showing the strain of command. "What about governance?" Da-Yun's hands trembled slightly as she pulled up the relevant sections. Article 8 covers political oversight. The Council appoints observers to all human governmental bodies. These observers have veto power over any legislation deemed contrary to Council interests. Veto power? Jiwoo's voice was dangerous. "Over our own laws?" "Yes, sir. And Article 9 specifies that human elections must be certified by Council observers. They can invalidate any election result they claim is improper. They want control of our government," Hyun-soo said. "Complete control hidden behind diplomatic language." Tae-Young pulled up his own findings. "I've been researching those protectorate species Velthar mentioned. The Krell and the Duloth. It took time to find unfiltered information, but I finally accessed some independent reports." He displayed images and data. "The Krell joined as a protectorate 400 years ago. Their population has declined by 40%. Their industrial output is strictly controlled. They can only travel where the Council permits. I found a Krell artist's memoir that was banned. She described her people as prisoners who forgot they were imprisoned." "And the Duloth?" Jiwoo asked. "Worse. They were a spacefaring species with colonies in 15 systems. They signed the Accords 200 years ago. Now they're restricted to their home system. All their colonies were redistributed to other Council species for proper development. The Duloth are effectively extinct as a galactic power." The room grew colder despite the station's climate control. This was not integration. This was absorption. Erasure. "There's more," Da-Yun said, though she looked sick saying it. Section 93. Alliance restrictions. Human governments may not form treaties, alliances, or agreements with any species outside Council authority without explicit approval. Violation results in immediate sanctions and possible military intervention. "They want us isolated," Hyun-soo said. "Dependent only on them." Jiwoo walked to the window again, staring out at the void. "Pull up everything about species that refused Council membership. I want to know what happened to them." A junior analyst named Bo Young worked her console rapidly. "Sir, there are 7 species listed as having rejected Council integration in the past 1,000 years. And where are they now?" Bo Young's face went pale. 3 are extinct. 2 were conquered by Council military action, disguised as peacekeeping. 1 accepted terms after a decade of crippling sanctions. The last one, the Velsha, are still independent but barely. They're confined to 2 systems and cannot expand. So our choices are submit or be destroyed. Tae-Yang's voice was flat. "Those are the choices they're giving us," Jiwoo corrected. "That doesn't mean those are our only options." He activated the quantum communication array. "I need to speak with Earth. Priority 1, full encryption." It took 15 minutes to establish the connection. When President Sang-woo appeared on the screen, he looked like he had aged 10 years in 2 days. "Commander, tell me you have good news. Sir, we need to send you the complete analysis. But the summary is this. The integration accords are not a partnership. They're terms of surrender. If we sign, humanity becomes a vassal state. They control our resources, our military, our government, our research, and our future. Sang-Woo closed his eyes. You're certain? Yes, sir. We've verified every clause. We've researched what happened to other protectorate species. This is subjugation wrapped in diplomatic language. And if we refuse, history suggests they'll try to force compliance through economic pressure, isolation, or eventual military action. The president was quiet for a long moment. Send me everything. I need to brief the Global Council. This decision affects every human alive. Yes, sir. Sir, we have 24 hours left to give them an answer. What should we prepare for? Prepare for anything, Commander. Earth did not survive 10,000 years of history by bowing to bullies. We'll talk soon. The connection ended. Jiwoo turned to find his entire team watching him. Get some rest, he told them. We have 1 day left, and I suspect it's going to be the longest day of our lives. But no one moved toward the sleeping quarters. They all knew sleep was impossible. Instead, they returned to their work, documenting every clause, every trap, every way the Council planned to cage humanity. In another section of the station, Trade Minister Calvex met with Chancellor Velthar. The humans have been very quiet, Calvex noted. They've made no inquiries through proper channels. They're reading the document, Velthar said dismissively. Trying to look thorough before they accept? And if they don't accept? Velthar's laugh was harsh. They will. They're alone out here, young, weak. They need us more than we need them. Tomorrow they'll sign, and humanity will join the long list of species who learned that the Council's way is the only way. But in the human quarters, Dayun uncovered another section buried deep in the document. This one made her blood run cold. She called for Jiwoo immediately. Sir, you need to read section 207. Population controls. Jiwoo read it. Then read it again. They want to limit human population growth. Restrict how many colonies we can settle. Control how many children we can have. Yes, sir. They're not just conquering us politically and economically. They want to control our future as a species. Jiwoo felt something break inside him, not his resolve but his last shred of doubt. He knew now with absolute certainty what humanity's answer had to be. They would never sign this document. Whatever the cost, whatever the consequences, humanity would not walk willingly into this cage. The Galactic Council Station hung in space like a massive jewel, its crystalline towers reflecting the light of distant stars. Ships from 47 different species filled the docking bays, each carrying representatives who believed they were about to witness history. Inside the Grand Chamber, Chancellor Velthar adjusted his ceremonial robes and surveyed the assembled delegates with satisfaction. Today the humans would finally learn their place. Commander Jiwoo stepped through the enormous doors with his delegation behind him. The chamber fell silent as thousands of eyes turned to watch the humans enter. Jiwoo had spent 20 years in diplomatic service, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. The room stretched higher than any cathedral on Earth, with balconies rising in tiers where representatives from species both familiar and strange watched their arrival. Ambassador Hyun-soo walked beside Jiwoo, carrying a data tablet that felt suddenly very small in his hands. He had negotiated trade deals across human space for 15 years, but this was different. The weight of expectation pressed down on them all. Behind them came the rest of the human delegation, 12 people who represented all of Earth and her colonies. Velthar rose from his seat at the center of the High Council platform. His reptilian features arranged themselves into what might have been a smile, though his teeth made it look more threatening than welcoming. Humanity. His voice boomed through translation devices. We welcome you to this historic occasion. Today we offer you a gift that species wait centuries to receive. Jiwoo bowed slightly, following diplomatic protocol. We are honored by this invitation, Chancellor. Indeed you should be. Velthar gestured grandly to the assembled council. We have watched your species with great interest. In only 150 years, you have spread to 30 systems. Such rapid expansion is concerning to the established order. The word concerning echoed through the chamber. Hyun-soo noticed several delegates leaning forward in their seats. This was not starting well. High Arbiter Quintal, an insectoid being whose carapace gleamed under the lights, clicked her mandibles together. Human expansion has been chaotic and unpredictable. You claim worlds without proper authorization. You establish colonies in regions where ancient claims exist. You trade without proper licensing. Jiwoo kept his expression neutral, though his jaw tightened. We have always sought to respect the rights of other species. If there have been misunderstandings, we are here to address them. Misunderstandings, Trade Minister Calvex repeated, his aquatic voice bubbling through his translation unit. An interesting word for violations of established galactic commerce law. Velthar raised one clawed hand, calling for silence. But we are not here to dwell on past mistakes. We are here to offer humanity a solution. The integration accords will provide structure and legitimacy to your species. You will become a protectorate under council authority, guided by our wisdom and protected by our strength. A holographic display materialized in the center of the chamber. The document appeared before them, page after page scrolling past. 10,000 pages of dense legal text in multiple languages. This is comprehensive, Jiwoo said carefully. Naturally, galactic governance is complex. Velthar's smile widened. But do not worry. Many species before you have successfully integrated. The Krell joined as a protectorate 400 years ago. The Duloth signed similar accords 2 centuries past. All have prospered under council guidance. Hyun-soo made a note on his tablet. Something about the way Velthar said prospered bothered him, but he could not place why. We request time to review these accords properly, Jiwoo said. This is too important to rush. Several council members exchanged glances. Velthar nodded slowly. Of course. We are not unreasonable. You have 48 hours to study the document. We understand this is momentous for your young species. Young species. The phrase kept appearing in every interaction. Jiwoo wondered if the council would ever see humanity as anything else. During this time, Quintel added, you may ask questions through proper channels. However, understand that these accords are standard. They have been refined over millennia. There is little room for negotiation on fundamental principles. We understand, Jiwoo replied, though understanding and accepting were very different things. The delegation was assigned quarters in the diplomatic wing of the station. As soon as the doors closed behind them, Hyun-soo activated their security protocols. A soft hum filled the room as signal jammers engaged, ensuring their conversations remained private. Did you see their faces? Hyun-soo asked. They expect us to just sign. They expect us to be grateful, Jiwoo corrected. Did you notice how Velthar kept calling this a gift? They think they're doing us a favor. A junior diplomat named Su Bin spoke up. Sir, I counted references to other protectorate species. Should we research them? Yes. Find everything you can about the Krell and the Duloth. I want to know how they're actually doing under council authority. The team spread out across their workspace, diving into research. The station's database was vast, but information about protectorate species was surprisingly limited. What little they found painted a picture of species that had given up much of their independence for security. Hours passed. Jiwoo stood at the window, watching ships come and go from the station. Humanity had clawed its way to the stars through determination and ingenuity. They had survived wars, plagues, and near extinction. And now, after finally reaching out to touch the cosmos, they were being told to step back and accept limits. Commander, Hyun-soo called out, you need to see this. Jiwoo turned to find his chief economic advisor looking pale. What is it? I've been analyzing trade data. Over the past 5 years, human exports have been systematically undervalued on council markets. Our imports have been inflated by an average of 30%. It's subtle, but it's there. Market manipulation. It looks like preparation. They've been economically weakening us before these negotiations even started. Hyun-soo's hands shook slightly as he showed Jiwoo the graphs. They want us desperate enough to accept any deal. Jiwoo felt cold anger settling in his chest. Begin a full analysis of the integration accords. I want to know every detail, every clause, every implication. Sir, that could take days. We only have 48 hours. Then we work fast. Get everyone on this. I need to know exactly what they're asking us to sign. As his team threw themselves into the work, Jiwoo returned to the window. Somewhere out there, beyond the streams of alien ships and the glow of the station, Earth waited for news. Colonies spread across 30 systems waited to learn their fate. Humanity stood at a crossroads, and the next 2 days would determine which path they took. In the Grand Chamber, Velthar met with his inner council. The humans will accept, he said confidently. They always do. Young species cannot afford to stand alone. But he had never dealt with humans before. He did not understand what happens when you back a species that had survived everything their own planet had thrown at them. He did not know that humans had a word for refusing impossible odds. They called it hope.